everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to do another Monday Talks with Morgan. And is that what we're calling them? Yes. Okay. I'm here today with Scott Aaron, and he's an ex. Oh, here he is. Let me get him in. Hi. Okay. There we go. Okay. Hi, Alina. So good to see you.
Hey there.
Hey, welcome.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Long time no talk.
Yeah, seriously. Um, so I'm so excited to have you here today. To anyone who doesn't know, Scott is an expert in LinkedIn and also human connection. I saw that that's what you kind of call yourself instead of an expert in networking. So I'd love to know, like, how did you come to call yourself a human connection expert?
Well, I think it was twofold. I think it was one, people started telling me that I had a knack for listening and really creating a meaningful connection with other people. And I think second to that was, they talk about the 10,000 or 10-year, 10,000 hour, 10-year habit. Uh,
Yeah.
I had spent about 18 years doing one-on-one personal training up until about 6.5, 7 years ago, all totaling around 70,000 hours of
Whoa.
working with people one-on-one. And when you work with people in that capacity, where they're entrusting you with their body, their life, their health, their wellness, there's a significant trust that needs to be formed. And um, I was always good at asking questions, and I still am, because questions lead to answers. But I also realized that we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. So I was always a better listener than I was a talker, even though I've always been a sociable person. And I just realized the more I got into business, especially in the online space about 8.5 years ago, that the best way to build a meaningful connection and relationship with someone is creating that human connection. It's not
Mhm.
about the email copy or what you put in the post. It's what you do with those connections, getting it from online to offline and really creating that genuine connection with someone, being there for them, providing value. Because when you create a significant bond between you and another person, especially in business, your name will start to come out of more people's mouths, which means you're seen as a trusted resource. You're going to get referrals, you're going to get more connections, and your business inevitably is going to grow.
Yeah, that's a great point. So, how do you, well, I wanted to say one more thing about that personal training. Like, it's a very vulnerable situation too. Like when you talk to a personal trainer. And I feel like always when I get on a discovery call with a new client, it's vulnerable. It's like really, it takes a certain amount of something to get on a call with someone, you know? So in any case, in terms of genuine connection, like establishing genuine connection, how do you do that? What are some of like the practical ways that you do that?
Well, I think it's actually listening. And I think that
Mm,
a big challenge for a lot of people, because when you come to a conversation with the notion that I just want to sell and pitch, share my offering, tell the person about my coaching, tell them how they can work with me. What you're doing is you're shutting off the possible connecting points between you and that person. How do you know what you have to offer is what they need? How do you know
yeah.
what their pain point is, or area of struggle, or hole or gap in their life or business, if you don't ask? And I'll use the reference of personal training. I didn't train everybody the same.
Mm,
When someone came into the gym, I would sit down with them and I would say, what are your specific goals? You know, is it to lose weight? Is it to put on muscle? Is it to train for a show? Is it to lean up? Like whatever it was, everything was customized. So when you really form that true connection between you and that other person, businesses start to grow that way. So you have to understand, when you're looking to form that, you have to really get to know the person. I always talk about letting someone share more about themselves first before you end up sharing anything about yourself second. Because you may find, when that person is telling themselves about you and what it is that they do and what they're struggling with, they may not be a good fit for you. And I actually told someone today, I'm not the right coach for you, because after they told me what they were looking for, I said, I don't do that anymore. Here's what I focus on. With our initial conversation, you knew this is what I do, and this is how I could help you. And I said, at this point, I would be doing you a disservice to yourself and your business, but also it would not be right to take your money, because I am not going to provide you what you're looking for. I'd be happy to refer you to someone else, or obviously you can start looking other places. And people appreciate that. People appreciate honesty and being genuine as more than anything else. So there are so many people that end up taking on clients or doing business with people that they shouldn't. You don't want to work with everybody. And part of that is, you shouldn't work with everybody, but you should form some sort of truthful connection with someone. That person that I let go today, now they know specifically what it is that I do and who I best serve. So guess what? If they're communicating and networking with other people, and my zone of genius may happen to come up in conversation, guess who they now may refer that person to? Me. Because everyone remembers how other people left them. So you always want to leave people in the best space possible.
Wow, this really hits home for me. When it comes to a lot of my work, helping women through like people pleasing and stuff like that, one of the most important things here is just to be honest, to just say upfront how you're feeling. And it's so amazing how difficult that can be in our society. Like, it's just so fascinating how sometimes they're like, I mean, for me, on my personal journey, sometimes it even feels like I'm trapped by other people's feelings and stuff. So that's really, really important. By the way, if anyone has any questions about networking, or we're going to get to LinkedIn in a second, but feel free to drop them in the chat so we can have some more genuine human connection.
Let me just piggyback off of what you said.
Please.
I'm a recovering people pleaser, so I took.
Oh yeah, me too.
And when I first started working with coaches, on my own personal development journey, one of the greatest things I learned from my first business coach almost 10 years ago, he said to me, he said, Scott, it's always better to be respected more than it is to be liked. Because my whole life, I just wanted to be liked by everyone. I was such an approval seeker that if I didn't get the approval of people, or if I wasn't liked by people, it somehow dimmed my light. But when he reframed that and he said, no, you want to be respected. You don't need to be liked by everybody. He goes, that's something that is egoic and self-fulfilling. You want to be respected, because when you gain the respect of people, it will take you much further in business than it would if you went through life just trying to please everybody else. Because at the end of the day, if you live your life like a people pleaser, you're filling everybody else's cup, not filling yours, and you are left empty at the end of each day.
Yes. Yes. Wow. So true. Thank you for sharing that. In terms of connection, I'm really interested on your take when it comes to connection virtually versus real life.
Yeah.
Because I came out of the the pandemic, and I was like, it's hard to walk into a room now with like 25 other entrepreneurs and like introduce myself. I was like, this is like physically much more difficult. So what are your take on that? Any, advice or on that shift?
Yeah, for me, like I resonate with that, just because I used to do a lot of in-person workshops, and I used to do speaking tours, and I actually I did an in-person training last week for the first time. I don't even know. I mean, it was a small, intimate group,
Yeah.
but back in April, I had did two other trainings. One was about 75 people, and the other was about 100. And I'm actually traveling for the first time in September. I'm actually flying down to Florida. I'm the Q3 speaker for a company training on LinkedIn, and I always tell people it's like riding a bike. Just like you, my wife and I, we've all only run our business from home. So my office is here, her office is upstairs, and I do like to do in-person stuff because I love connecting with people.
Mhm.
But like you, I really had to learn the power of stuff like this, networking on social media, networking on Zoom or Skype or WhatsApp. And, when people become comfortable again, getting back into the space of, belly to belly networking, it's a comfort level thing. You just have to be mindful of your surroundings. But if you did it once, you can do it again. And between you and me, I had the same anxiety when I would get into a room, like when I first stepped foot into the first in-person speaking event in over 2 years back in April. I had a lot of anxiety.
Mhm.
And honestly, once I stepped up on stage and I started training, all of it disappeared. Like, I mean, it all went away, totally forgot about all the anxiety that I had going into it. And even after it was done, for the reception line, when people would come up and, talk about my book or talk to me, it was like I had never stopped doing it. And there are going to be patterns, and there are going to be events, hopefully not to the capacity that the pandemic brought on, but you may be out of sorts for a little while, going to in-person events, and you still may be just comfortable going online and being virtual that way, which is completely fine. So I always tell people, meet yourself where you are. If you're not ready to be back in person, don't force yourself to do something, but connection can be created in any capacity. My wife read a book once, and it's called How to Get People to Fall in Love with You in 20 Minutes.
Mm.
And the premise of the book is, if you just take the time and let someone else talk about themselves without interruption for 20 minutes, they will love you. I mean, not the capacity where everybody's going to want to marry you, but
Yeah.
when someone is being listened to and when someone is being heard, it creates a connection, because here's this person that doesn't know me and they're taking the time to listen to me, to get to know me, and you bring that into your networking as well, whether it's online like this or if it's in person. But again, you got to meet yourself where you are. But I promise you, when you are ready to step back in person and get into that room and rub some elbows and shake some hands and hug it out or whatever you do, you're going to forget about all the things from the past. You're going to be present, and it's going to be like it never stopped.
Yeah, that sounds great. I actually went to a networking event last week with women in business, and one woman came over to me. We knew each other, and she was like, "This is really hard for me. Like I'm anxious." And I was like, "Oh, we can be friends. Don't worry. Like it's cool." But any advice for people who feel anxious, putting themselves out there?
You know, Fear is one of the biggest things that will stop people from really achieving their goals. And whether it's networking with people or just starting to reach out to people to share what it is that you do about your business, if you don't form connection with people, how are they going to know what it is that you do, how you do it, who you serve, and in what capacity, the way you do that? One of the best ways to suppress any sort of anxiety that you may be having when you're starting to network and you're a little bit, stressed out about the whole event, or what do I say to people, or how do I go about it? Questions are always the best things to fall back on, right? And it could be, hey, what's your name? What do you do? How long have you been with business? How are things going so far in business? What are you working on now? And I remember going to a personal development event, and it was really funny. There was like 250 of us. So the speaker gets up there, and this is something people should practice. The speaker gets up there, and he goes, before anyone says or does anything, by a show of hands, how many of you are sitting next to someone that you know well?
Mm.
And literally the entire room raised their hand, right? And he said, before we move on, everyone is going to stand up, grab your stuff, and go sit next to someone that you do not know. I was fine with that. I could talk to a tree if it would talk back to me,
Yeah.
but I could feel people's anxiety when they had to go sit next to someone that they didn't know, someone outside of their comfort zone, right? So after everyone moved around and everyone sat down next to someone they didn't know, he said, I'm going to give everybody 60 seconds, and you are to find 3 things in common. Go. And
Yeah.
just started asking questions. Do you have kids? Where do you live? Do you live in a house?
Yeah.
You ever been to Florida? And then he started going around the room, and before you knew it, everyone's like, oh yeah, we have this in common, we have that in common, we have that in common. All you have to do is ask questions and pay attention. Now, I will also say this. The first time you do something is sometimes the scariest. Think about when, we were first learning to walk, right? Obviously we didn't have any fear back then, but our parents did. If we fell and bumped our head. But think
Yeah.
riding a bike, right? When we ride a bike, you have the training wheels on. And then the training wheels come off. Mom or dad holds the back of the seat and are guiding you down the street. And before you know it, they take their hand off and you're going. And it's scary. Anything you do the first time is going to be a little bit fearful. Every master was once a disaster. T.R. Becker says that all the time. And the fact is, it's just like the gym. It is just like the gym. No one goes to the gym once, works out, and then leaves looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Yeah.
That first workout hurts the most. You are so sore. But you know what? You go back over and over and over again, and it gets easier and easier. Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, forcing yourself to be in a scenario where you're leaning into your fear, gets you used to that. So the next time you're in that same position, guess what? It's not so scary anymore. Think about the first time that you drive somewhere that you don't know how to get there. Even if you have GPS, right? Even if it's telling you step by step exactly where you need to go, but you're driving slower, you're looking at every street, right? And then you end up getting there, and then if you happen to go there a second and third time, you're a little bit more relaxed. You remember some landmarks, you know what streets to look for, so everything gets more comfortable the more often you do it.
Yes, so true. All right, so I'm going to shift to LinkedIn a little bit. And I'm going to ask you to make a case for it because I'm a millennial. And so for me, like I feel safe on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok kind of. But why LinkedIn for those of us in the online, who have an online business?
How much time do we have? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So first, to just address the millennial question, there's about 700 million people on LinkedIn, almost 800 million, and of that, there's about, I would say, about 11 million millennials on the platform now. So a lot of millennials have been shifting from the TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook space and coming onto a professional networking platform. So what people need to understand, if you have an online business, you have to look at a couple different things. Number one is the size of the network that you can grow. So LinkedIn, you can actually grow an organic network up to 30,000 connections. Facebook, you're allowed 5,000 friends. Instagram, yes, you have unlimited followers, but Instagram happens to have the highest rate of fake accounts to real accounts on all social media. It's a lot of bots. It's a lot of fake profiles. You can't tell who is who. The other thing that you need to look at is income. So the average income that someone makes on Facebook and Instagram is $30,000 a year or less. The average income that someone makes on LinkedIn is $100,000 a year or more. So if you're an online business owner and you have something $100,000 a year,
Wow.
so
That's
if you have
yeah.
of high value to offer, you need to go where people can afford what it is that you offer. The other thing I'll say is this: LinkedIn is the only social media platform where every single Fortune 500 company has a presence on the platform. It's the only one. So you want to talk about high caliber people, that's where you're going to want to be. The other thing is demographics. The average age on someone on Facebook and Instagram is 18 to 29. But interestingly enough, the average age now on LinkedIn is 25 to 35, or 25 to 55. So you have a nice wide disparity age of people on the platform. The other thing is lead generation. Without leads, you have no business.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking to new people, booking new calls. You can't expect your business to grow. So there was a 6-month study done about 2 years ago, and it's only gone up since it was reported in Forbes. And a third-party company came in, and they did a study on organic lead generation, Facebook/Instagram versus LinkedIn. At the end of the 6 months, they found that LinkedIn was 277% more effective for organic unpaid lead generation than Facebook and Instagram. So nearly 300% better. Now, if you kind of break down the platforms, Facebook is more about personal life. That's where people share weddings, engagement, births, deaths, anniversaries, birthdays. That's what Facebook is for, showing the celebratory things of your life. Instagram and TikTok are entertainment. It's where people are pointing and dancing and lip syncing. And again, is there some going on? Sure. But here's what I'll say. I like Instagram for the way that I use it, which is to entertain people in a business manner, provide inspiration. But the fact of the matter is, you can't tell who's successful and who's not anymore. Everyone's living life through a filter. I call it the reality TV show of social media. You don't know what's real and what's not. What I love about LinkedIn, it's a global networking event every single time you log on. My wife and I have clients all over the world because on LinkedIn, you can build an international connection list, because when you're connecting with people, you can filter by location, you can filter by company, you can filter by city, by state, anywhere in the world. So when you are looking to build out a proper online business, one of the most important arms of your business is your sales generating arm. And best place to generate sales right now has always been LinkedIn. People are just underutilizing it. You know, my wife and I, we now have a multiple 7-figure business, and it's because of what we've done with LinkedIn, and we've helped other people make multiple 6, 7 figures in their business in an organic way, only spending 20 minutes a day on LinkedIn, just using the free basic version. And we're not going to stop. And again, we invite people, continue hanging out on Facebook and Instagram, right? Continue to do that. But is your business looking the way that you want it to, right? And if you want something to change, you have to change something that you're doing.
Yeah, that's really great. Is there any suggestion you have for someone like me who has a profile, but like hasn't really utilized it at all? Like, what would you recommend to just get started?
Well, on my website, I do have a free download. It's called
Okay, cool.
scottaaron.net. It's a 6 steps to optimizing your LinkedIn profile. So a lot of people don't know this, but LinkedIn was bought out by Microsoft about 7 years ago. So when Microsoft bought out LinkedIn, they took the SEO, search engine optimization, that we have on our websites, and they applied it to our LinkedIn profiles. So now your LinkedIn profile, if it's optimized the right way, shows up in Google searches, Yahoo searches, Bing searches. And when you are setting up your profile the right way, you're keywording it from the aspect of, what is my ideal client searching for? So what people don't recognize is LinkedIn is a search engine. So when people go onto LinkedIn, they're going into the search bar and they're searching for someone or something. So you have to think about, who is my ideal client and what would my ideal client be searching for from a keyword standpoint? Are they searching business coach? Are they searching transformation coach? So you have to think about those keywords and then put them all throughout your profile so your profile shows up. It should be in your headline. It should be in the About Me section where you're describing what it is that you do, how you do it, and who you serve. It should be in the experience section where you're letting people know, here's what I do for a business, and here's a short description of what it is. All fluttered throughout your profile from top to bottom. It should have all of those. It should have your education, your volunteer experience, licenses and certifications. Prove your specialty area. But the other thing is getting recommendations. So recommendations are testimonials. You want the words of others doing the selling for you. Now, I hit a milestone about a week ago. I just received my 500th written recommendation on my LinkedIn profile. 500 testimonials from people that I've worked with over the years. So when people visit my profile or they watch my trainings, I do 2 LinkedIn trainings a week. I'm building the know, like, and trust. You want your expertise to be shown and shining so brightly that you don't have to convince people to work with you. They want to work with you because they see very clearly by how your profile is set up that you are the expert in your space.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. That's so, so important. I mean, it's important that also to like step into that lane of genius and say like, this is my expertise. This is what I do, and just let those people come to you. So that's really
Yeah,
awesome.
you don't want to set your profile up like a resume. You know, you want to tell your story. You want to add some juice to it. I call it unzipping yourself to your audience. So when someone visits your profile on LinkedIn, reverse engineer it. Pretend like you're looking at your own profile. Is it clear what it is that you do? Something that we teach our clients is make it so clear what you do, a 7-year-old understands what it is. If it's confusing to you, it's confusing to everybody.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much for being here. I have 2 more questions. The first one is, where can people find you? Which may be hilarious to ask after that.
Well, find me, right here on Instagram. My handle is @ScottAaron You can find me on Facebook. I have a private Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group that people can join called LinkedIn Leads for Life, where I do trainings each week. Or on LinkedIn. My website, scottaaron.net. It's got my podcast on there, my books, and would love to connect with you.
Awesome, great. So the last question I always like to ask is, if you could go back to the start of this whole journey and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Trust your gut. I wouldn't change a thing, because if I changed something in my journey, I wouldn't be here right now. But that's something that I still tell myself today. Always trust your gut. And I remember I was listening to, you ever see the show Ted Lasso?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
Amazing show. In one of the season 2 season finale, Ted was saying, he goes, trust your gut. He goes, because on the way down, it's going to talk to your heart too. And he goes, your heart and your gut will never lie to you. So something that I believe in as a business owner is really start getting out of your head, getting into your heart, and just following the path that is being laid down in front of you.
Oh yeah, wow. Thank you. I think we'll end there. It's really been an honor to have you here, and thank you for giving us your time.
Well, grateful for you, and thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes, of course. Take care. Bye, everyone.